James.
James Castiglione, 300 Washington Street. I'm currently serving as acting president of People for Open Government, which I believe the council knows is a local citizens activist group that promotes and advocates for openness and transparency and accountability in government and citizen active participation in local politics and local municipal life, and also to curb the undue influence of campaign contributions.
Excuse me, James, does that include developers?
Yes, it does. And
Thank you. I wanted to clarify that.
so many of you will recall that POG ran a petition campaign earlier this year that resulted in the presentation of two ordinances, the Public Contracting Reform Ordinance and the Redeveloper Pay-to-Play Ordinance, that were unanimously passed by the City Council in February. Because we were the organization that brought forward these ordinances to the City Council, we feel an obligation to follow up on them. And so over the last several weeks we have been reviewing the election reports online, and we just wanted to alert the City Council that we have found a couple potential violations involving contributions by one city contractor and also by a couple redevelopers. Now, we have informed the city via letter, the mayor's office, and the City Council President Del Baccio, and it is again a city ordinance, so the enforcement of it does fall to the city. And I'm aware that President Del Baccio has talked with Corporation Counsel, and what we were wondering is if at this point in time the Corporate Counsel has come to any conclusions or has an opinion about the issues that we brought forward.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
In fact, yes, I did receive from the mayor and from the council president your correspondence. I actually have correspondence that has been prepared, is going out tomorrow to you and to the individuals and entities that have been alleged to have violated the ordinance, giving them an opportunity to respond to your allegations within a brief period of time. Obviously from what you've set forth in your letter, it's not sufficient for me to be able to make a determination. I will get their response, and then at that time, we'll be in a better position to determine, what exactly happened here and whether it is a violation. In the future, you're welcome to bring that to my attention if you believe that's the case, and I will do the same thing. I'm just trying to be fair to the individuals involved, as I'm sure you would understand and respect, and I'll keep you informed.
Thank you. As part of our review,
Continue, James.
We found the information at the Election Law Enforcement Commission website, and in the course of that review in covering the pay-to-play ordinances, we found a number of other election law reporting requirements violations. Now, these laws are not city ordinances, so it's not the purview of the city council to deal with them, but we just wanted to bring it to your attention and simply ask the council to urge all candidates and committees to comply with the law fully and in a timely manner, because we do think it does matter to the voters to be able to make informed decisions in our local elections. And there's one other issue I want to mention, and that is you will recall that People for Open Government and the Quality of Life Coalition co-sponsored candidates forums before the May 8th election, and we were very pleased that Patrick Ricciardi was able to tape them and show them on Channel 78. And in a recent conversation with him, it came to my attention that there are certain limitations with the technology and that limits the amount of time that Channel 78 has to broadcast information. And so I would like to respectfully ask the council if they can maybe update some of the technology that he has, including potentially a multi-DVD changer that would allow the broadcasting of much more or longer loops of material than currently exists, where we're trying to encourage Channel 78 to rebroadcast some of the candidates forums prior to the runoff election next week. We think that would be helpful to the citizens. And I have one question in that regard, and that is, does Channel 78 on its website have a listing of the programs and what times that they're broadcast? Is there anything like that? Okay, so I would encourage the council to set aside, and I think there's a relatively small amount of money for some of the technology updates that could be very useful, and in addition to get the website updated in a way so that citizens can go to the website and find out when certain broadcasts can be viewed. So, thank you.
James.
Council President, I have some questions for James. James, is there an ethics board within your organization for any members who participate in campaigns that may be illegally funded?
Is there an ethics board?
Yeah, is there some checks and balances, basically, of your members that may get involved in a political campaign that received illegal monies?
To my knowledge,
Maybe there should be.
Yeah. Sanctions, nothing that your organization?
Well, there are bylaws with the organization that dictate whether or not you can participate as a candidate.
Okay, so there's no...
One at a time.
So there's no remedy, there's no, what's the right
There's
word?
no
There's no
recourse.
recourse, that's the word.
I got
There's no
the word.
recourse for any members of People for Open Government who participate in an illegally funded, by your own ordinance, an illegally funded campaign?
I am not aware of any, I mean,
I personally am,
can,
and I'll
I'm just,
discuss it offline,
I guess I'm still a little,
I'd also like
is
to...
the council making,
You can't, hold on, hold on. Mr. Can I
Ask
speak?
me a
Mr. Russo?
Excuse
Hold
me,
on. Listen,
Please, I have
you can't,
time to...
Mr. Russo has the floor. You can't yell out from the back, all right? We've had a good meeting all along. You can't yell out from the back.
certainly members of the organization are allowed to participate in,
Oh, absolutely.
in campaigns.
Is there in other words, if you're...
We certainly don't encourage our members to participate in any campaigns that are,
duly noted, but if someone does, it's their right to. If
anytime
they
that there's a
do-
violation, and anytime that there's a violation in any of the pay-to-play ordinances,
Correct.
you know, we'd appreciate,
do they maintain their status in your organization? Are they removed from your organization?
Well,
Is there a sanction against?
in short, if an individual does something that violates the bylaws of the organization, then that would have to be addressed by the organization.
Well, they
Absolutely, they're on the
don't
website.
necessarily. It may not necessarily be them that have violated the law because they were not.
Well, what would the relevance of that
campaign
be?
manager for a particular candidate that had violated the law. What would be the recourse of your organization against them? Because we, as the city council, we unanimously pass these ordinances and we fully support them. But we want to make sure that not only
Morano's next.
elected officials, but even those who seek office that violate these laws are held accountable, and those that may be participating in a campaign that may be funded illegally by these ordinances, that they're also dealt with appropriately.
But to the extent that any member of the organization, you know, does something that violates the bylaws, then that would be dealt with. If they themselves don't, then it's unclear to me how they would be held
Can you
responsible for
excuse me?
something
Hold
that
on.
they...
Mr. Camerano's next.
Please, I'm not finished.
When Mr. Russo is done, then we're going to have Mr. Camerano, because now we have a lot of questions for you.
And the question I have, the real big question I have is, if someone was seeking office, and sometimes, you know, because I am not a lawyer, so sometimes I get confused with the wording of the ordinance, but if someone is seeking office and a developer donates and then it's refunded, is that still a violation?
No.
He didn't ask
In fact,
you.
the remedy is specifically stated in the ordinances says that
James has the floor.
that any violations can be remedied by returning the money.
Okay, so the campaign could then reimburse that person back, so that's a remedy according to the ordinance.
Absolutely.
Is it a remedy if subsequent to the election that developer then puts money back into the campaign? Is that then a violation?
Of course. If the developer has contracts with the city involved with the redevelopment zone, and they contribute to a campaign,
That would then be a violation.
And
Yes.
that happened, and no action was
Now,
taken against that person.
In your brief, I'll call it for lack of a better term, there was only, I believe, one elected official on there. Was there any research done into candidates that were not successful with their bid?
Well, we looked at all of the election reports that were filed with ELEC.
Wow.
Wow,
Your research is...
research.
Okay.
Thank you.
Peter?
All I needed.
Mr. Castiglione,
Cameron,
please.
wait.
If you don't mind.
We have questions for you now.
I'm looking at this letter for the first time about 3 minutes ago. All right, so forgive me, and maybe I'm missing parts of it, but I'm just looking at it for the first time now, and you make some pretty direct statements of fact, some direct accusations, and I'm going to speak, since you're the person that signed this letter, I'm going to speak very directly with you. Okay. And I want to remind you that these laws that you reference in this letter are your laws. You were a member of
They're the city laws.
petitioners.
It's the laws of the city.
They were laws that you distributed through the streets on a clipboard, getting signatures in order to put them on the ballot.
Yes.
They were then brought to the city council's attention once the city clerk's office had certified that you had the proper number of signatures in the proper amount of time, right?
Absolutely.
These laws were laws that you either drafted or circulated through town in order to get signatures on, right? So you have a
Yes, as I
familiarity
stated
with these
earlier,
laws.
yes.
Is that
Pardon?
right?
Yes, as I
Familiarity
stated
with
earlier.
these laws.
You're familiar with the law?
Are you familiar
Yes,
with these
yes.
laws
Yes,
that
I
you
have them right
circulated
here.
through the streets?
I have them right here.
Okay, that's good. Your paragraph about Crivet and Crivet here, to the extent that they donated $500 to any one candidate, or two candidates that you mentioned here, those would appear to be excess contributions. And my understanding of that law is there is a cure provision for excess contributions to be returned within a certain amount of time after an election date. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes,
Has that
30
date
days.
passed yet?
Pardon?
Has that date passed yet?
30 days from the election.
Has that date passed yet? Today?
No.
No, I believe it's Thursday.
Okay.
June 1st it's dated.
Just to clarify, that's the remedy.
So it's a potential violation.
That's the remedy once a violation is
It's a
identified.
cure. It's a cure for an excess contribution,
Yes.
right? Okay. So, and what is the contribution limit? Is it?
It says, if I may read to you, it says, a recipient of a contract for professional services or extraordinary unspecified
amount,
services
just the dollar amount.
may cure a violation of Section 1 of this ordinance if within 30 days after the general election, which follows the date of the contribution, the contract recipient notifies the municipality in writing and seeks and receives reimbursement of the contribution from the recipient of
Mr.
such
Castiglione,
excess
let me just stop you there. I'm going to concede for purposes of our discussion tonight that Crivet and Crivet falls within the ambit of that law. Okay? What's
Okay.
the contribution limit that Crivet and Crivet can give under the law?
Crivet and Crivet currently has a contract with the City of Hoboken, so the
Conceding
limit,
that the law applies to them, Mr.
so the limit is 0.
No, 500?
You're frightening me. You're frightening me.
500.
I think
These
you're
are
mistaken.
your laws. These are your laws.
See, Mr. Camerano has...
Please.
Mr.
give me a minute.
Camerano, let him
Give me a
continue.
minute.
Let
But the
Mr.
limit-
Camerano continue on this because, things are happening here. Yeah. Yeah, things are happening here. We got somebody making allegations and now he's being refuted.
And sometimes they don't make allegations
Yeah.
when it
And
happens.
sometimes you're bringing out certain things and you're not bringing out other things.
Council President.
So here we go, James.
Council President.
So, if I may
What is the
respond,
dollar limit on a contribution from this professional service contract?
Section 1, paragraph B says that no business entity who submits a proposal for, enters into negotiations for, or agrees to any contract or agreement with the City of Hoboken or any of its departments or instrumentalities and so on, shall knowingly solicit or make any contribution.
That is the developer portion of the...
So that's the public contracting reform ordinance that I'm reading from. There's very similar language in the redeveloper one. You're correct.
Right. That's the 2007 ordinance.
That's correct. That's the one that was passed
When do you...
4 months ago, in February.
And are you aware of when the Crivet and Crivet contract was awarded?
It was awarded in July 2006 and runs until July of 2007, so it's currently in effect.
Okay. So could I don't want to even make it a question because we're running around in circles here, but just so that you know, Mr. Castiglione, no law, whether it's a local ordinance, a county ordinance, a state statute, a federal statute, can apply retroactively. So if that contract was awarded prior to the enactment of that ordinance, it has no effect on that contractor for purposes of that contract. Okay, that's number one.
Well, if there's some question about that, perhaps that's something for the corporate counsel to look into, but I have to say that's not my reading of the language.
I will defer to his judgment, but I can tell you that there's no such thing as a law that can apply retroactively. It's not the case. Secondly, I don't want to ask questions about what if someone did this, what if somebody did that. Again, I'm going to speak very directly to you. This paragraph 2 regarding the redeveloper pay to play, you bring up a contribution by Michael Barry of $4,600. You say in the next breath that you've looked at everyone's ELEC reports that was a candidate in the May 8th municipal election, right? You looked at all of their ELEC reports.
The ones that were filed back in May, yes.
Okay. Are you aware, based on your investigation, that another designated redeveloper, besides Mr. Barry, fully financed 2 council candidacy campaigns? Are you aware of that? And if you're aware of it, why is it not in this letter? Why are you pointing out $4,600 and not the tens or hundreds of thousands in contributions that are equally a violation if your interpretation of that law is to be believed? Where are they in this letter?
Our investigation of the reports, the ELEC filings that were reported in our findings are based on the ELEC reports that are online.
I heard you. You read all the ELEC reports.
Yes.
Are you aware, based on, excuse me, are you aware, based on your investigation, which I'm sure was thorough, of all these ELEC reports, that a redeveloper in the city of Hoboken, a designated redeveloper, completely financed 2 council candidates' campaigns? Are you aware of that?
If you were not, you're aware of it now.
I will go back and relook at the ELEC reports and see if we missed something.
Good idea.
And if that's the case,
very good idea.
If that's the case,
Mr. Castiglione,
we will refile we will amend the letter. But
Mr. Castiglione, I want to leave you with this. I just want to leave you with this. I don't want to
wrap it up.
Point. I want to get home to
your baby,
to my wife and my baby, but it is conspicuously absent in this letter, what I just described to you. It's conspicuously absent.
Thank you.
And frankly, it draws not only your own credibility into question for signing this,
What they believe in.
you draw into question the credibility and the entire purpose of the People for Open Government. Right. What is the People for Open Government if they're going to split hairs as to which candidate violated, which didn't?
We haven't split hairs. We looked at all candidates. We looked at candidates that won. We looked at candidates that lost. We looked at candidates that are in runoffs and those that are not. And we listed every single violation.
Okay.
We weren't picking anyone out.
Very well.
And the last point I will make is that the public contracting reform ordinance that you mentioned previously, the one that passed in 2007, is an update of another one that was passed by referendum.
Right.
And the clause that you're referring to does exist in the previous ordinance. So the issue about being grandfathered in
The previous
is
ordinance,
is taken care of by the previously existing ordinance.
This ordinance has a dollar limitation on contributions. Yes. The dollar limitation in the previous ordinance is not 0.
Correct.
Okay.
It's not 0.
All right.
How much, is anybody aware of what that dollar limit is in the previous ordinance?
We'd love to hear from you, Eric.
Okay. All right, James.
Hear from you.
Okay, let's conclude, all right? Thank you. This ends the public portion.